Hello, my name is Barney Murray. I am your host for Good News Tucson TV. And today I have with me as my guest, Principal Donnie Houston from the Eastpointe High School. Welcome, Donnie.
Thank you, Mr. Murray, for having me, and thank you for hosting this. We're just glad to be a partner with your organization and excited to have this opportunity to share some of the words of wisdom and my thoughts and ideas about K-12 education.
We welcome you, and we're fortunate enough today that we're recording from the music room over at Eastpointe High School, and we have a couple of our students with us. Say hello, students. We're glad to have them. Those are part of the reason we do what we do. And so when it comes to education, and there's a lot of changes and things going on in the education, from testing to the presentation of school, the work, how it's delivered, computers are incorporated and traditional. So as things progress, what are some of the challenges that you see that we're experiencing in the field of education at this point?
Well, there are many challenges, unfortunately, that not only charters but even local district schools are experiencing, not only here in Arizona but across the country. As you know, we're making a transition, particularly in Arizona, from Ames to Park. And my colleagues and I, one of the things that we're really challenged with is funding. To administer this test will cost hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. And this is a mandate that has not yet been funded fully. So we're challenged by that. Also, as we're moving from Ames to Park, Park is a different type of assessment. It's going to take a different form of instruction to ensure students are ready to write this test. So we're now challenged again by, as the phase-in part goes in, because as we were teaching concepts and skills under the old Ames, those will be totally different under Park. And so we are got our nose to the grinding stone, so to speak, to make sure our staff and students are ready to write this exam.
Now, is Park something that is exclusive to Tucson or Arizona? Or is it a national program?
No, it is a national program. I believe 46 states has adopted Park. One of the challenges, again, as I said before with Park, is that it is extremely expensive to administer. And as school districts, charters, not only here in Arizona but across the country, are facing budget challenges, we're looking at ways to make sure that students are ready to write this test, but more importantly, that teachers are trained and have the knowledge and skill to prepare students to take this exam coming up in the spring.
With testing being one of the measurements in how well a school is doing and preparing its students, from a teacher's viewpoint, what are some of the challenges with employment and qualified teachers?
Well, you know, here's a couple of things that I believe. I believe that as a nation, and particularly here in the state of Arizona, we don't value education at all. It clearly shows, and the statistics really bears it out, that the number one indicator of a student doing well in school is that classroom teacher. So I think one of the things we need to do is really look at, our teacher ed program and how we prepare teachers as they come out of college. The next thing we need to do is provide them mentorships and mentors and seasoned teachers to go along with them to help them along the way.
And that's mentors for the new teachers.
Mentors for the new teachers, exactly. And finally, I think we need to look at a compensation package, because what's happening is that we're losing the best and the brightest to other fields, to the business field, to the engineering field, and other fields that may be a lot more lucrative than, education.
Okay. Would you suggest we implement, or what is necessary to make those kind of changes, though?
I think it's going to be a paradigm shift for the entire country. First of all, I believe that the K-12 education, the entire system, is old and antiquated. If I had my way, we would go back to our basics, and also we would focus more on project-based education, meaning that if a student needs to learn algebra, it sure would be nice if we could hook up with Habitat for Humanity and have a student to really see where the importance is learning how to do the rise divided by the run. or if a student needs to learn how to measure the area of a room, he understands and he can really apply those concepts and skills, measuring the length times width. So I think it's going to take a combination of things. I think it's going to take, first of all, a total paradigm shift for the entire nation and how we view education. Secondly, I think it's going to be, we need to institute a massive form of project-based ed, giving students real-world opportunities to apply those concepts and skills learned in the classroom.
Now, is that something, because of the magnitude of it and the impact, is that something that has to come out of Washington as a mandate, or can it be implemented at the school level?
Well, that's one of the great things about charters. Charters came about, several years ago, and one of the things about a charter school is that we are a privately we're different from the district, and we're totally separate from the district. Although we get funded the same way the district does, but we have the opportunity to be creative and innovative. In exchange for that autonomy, we must produce more than average test scores.
Okay. So over at Eastpointe, you've been in Tucson for about a year, right?
Yes.
And what are some of the things that you've encountered as a charter school that you have changed at Eastpointe?
Well, one of the things I've tried to change is really the mindset. I think, we need to change the mindset, not only of the students at Eastpointe, but the way the community views the Eastpointe. One of the things I've tried to do, particularly with bringing on programs and partnerships such as the one we have here, is to give students an opportunity to try those concepts and skills they learned in the classroom in a real-world setting. The other thing that I've tried to do is partner with local businesses, churches, and religious organizations to develop that strong and meaningful partnership that I think is successful for any school, and we'll talk more about that, I'm sure. The other thing, I've really increased the rigor here. And I've tried to find the best and the brightest teachers to part the sea of knowledge to the students in their charge.
Okay. Your student body, what are some of the observations you've seen that are challenging, not just the student body at Eastpointe, but youth in general?
Well, I think, the youth today is a lot different for when you and I were in high school. I mean, with, Facebook, Twitter, and all the other things that grabs their attention. Sometimes education could be the last thing on their list. The other thing is that, and I'm not using a system blame approach, but it is true. Oftentimes, students come not only to Eastpointe, but probably schools across the valley, undercredited and not having the skills necessary to do the high calculations in math or to write effectively and concisely. And so now we have the challenge of making sure that this student has the skill necessary to pass, sometimes what can be a challenging AIMS or state assessment, whatever that may be. The other thing I think is, the economy. And we all know what happened, 4 to 5, 6 years ago. I think that had a rippling impact on not only the schools, but everyone in the county. As mom and dad has to move away because, maybe a job is phased out, or maybe have to move because of an opportunity someplace else, that has a direct impact on school and school funding.
Okay. And that's probably true throughout the board, whether it be public, private, or charter schools, and throughout the nation as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Technology is relevant and is a part of our everyday life, and in the life of our students are becoming more technology-based. I can see that being a blessing and a curse in the delivery of academics. How is Eastpointe addressing that?
Well, here's the way I look at technology. Years ago when I first started in this business, when, computers just came about and was really, the hot thing, if you were shopping for a school as a parent, you wanted to know if they had computers. Computers is just a tool. That's all a computer is a tool. A very valuable one that is needed, but yet and still, it is just a tool. Again, I go back to the old adage, the number one indicator, and research bears that out, is the classroom teacher. So the classroom teacher has to be very comfortable with technology and how they deliver and teach students how to use technology responsibly.
Okay. that is a challenge, not only in the school environment, but in the homes as well, is monitoring and being able to control what your children see.
And then if you look at the cost of technology, I mean, I was reading a technology magazine a couple of days ago, and now I understand that Microsoft will not support anything. They will not support Windows Windows or Word 2003.
Right.
So
Right.
that's going to be a real challenge for particularly small schools like Eastpointe. So we're really, I mean, we need to upgrade our technology, but now that's really like at the forefront of some of the things that I have to get done. And of course, it all comes back to funding and cost and making sure those things happen. One of the things that we like to pride ourselves on here at Eastpointe is intimate class setting, a flexible school schedule. And we have the ability and the autonomy to create innovative programs like the music program, like the digital arts programs. And we also have the opportunity to make those key and important community relationships that will enhance our program.
Okay. You've been here for about a year, and you have years of experience in this area. And
Yes.
you taught it or were an administrator at charter schools
Yes.
before. Tell us a little about your background.
I'm originally from Michigan. I used to run prisons before I started getting into this business, believe it or not. Unfortunately for me, I was taken hostage by 2 hitmen from the cartel. And as a result of that,
What?
Yes, I was taken hostage. My story was on CNN, the Washington Post, the New York Times, and I'm not ashamed of my religious affiliation. I am a Christian, and that's that's not how I became a Christian, because I grew up in the church, but that's where I understood my relationship with the Lord is extremely important. So I was a hostage for 17 hours, and so the Lord spoke to me and said, you know, you're going to be okay, you're not going to have any problems. And sure enough, 17 hours later, FBI SWAT came and got me out. And so one of the things that resulted from that, here I am now, 29 years old. I didn't have a college degree. What am I going to do now? And so the Lord spoke to me and said, go back to school. And I said, no, I tried that. He said, no, go back. So my wife and I, we moved back home because we were young, just got married. And so I enrolled in the local community college, and I met a lady by the name of Professor Jankowski. At 32 years old, she was the first person to tell me I was smart enough to go to college.
Really?
And I decided at that point I wanted to do that for someone else. So I decided to continue my education. I got my little associate's degree, went on to get my bachelor's degree at Grand Valley State, moved to
Where'd you move to?
moved to Arizona.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I moved to Arizona, and I got a job teaching at Gilbert Public Schools, and I decided I wanted to have a greater impact on student achievement, and so I went to the Northern Arizona to earn my master's degree. And so I've been a school administrator for about 14 years, particularly in the charter school setting.
Good.
Okay, and I think that experience and those things that it really helps me in my day-to-day dealings with students. I got to be honest with you, Mr. Murray. I would like to tell you that I was a scholar and I was at the top of my class, but I was not. School came very difficult for me, particularly math. And so I understand the challenges these students face, and that's why I'm totally committed to these students at Eastpointe to make sure that I pledge to parents that they will be academically safe, they will be challenged, academically safe and ready. And that's what I want to do. I'm looking for some Donnie Houstons out there, someone that just need a little push, a little encouragement, someone that maybe just need a little extra help. Because I can't tell you, Professor Jankowski, Professor Galbraith, those people who believed in me and gave me the help and support I needed is the reason why I'm sitting here today.
It's quite a story, quite a story. We're here with Donnie Houston from Eastpointe High School, the principal there, and that was a pretty interesting story. You have quite a background with the prison work that you did, and then the abduction, who helped form your character to who you are today. It's quite of a challenge, and I can see where your connection with the youth and the concern for youth, and because education is one of the areas where you can change lives at the early level. But that brings up the point that it's not a job that you can do by yourself. You have a staff.
Absolutely not.
Staff and teachers, and besides the academic side of it, when it comes to your staff and your faculty, what are some of the characteristics you have looked for to put your team together?
One of the things I agree with what you said, it takes a village to raise a child, to run a school, to educate a student. One of the things that I look for when I get ready to bring a staff person on, sure, they have to have a bachelor's degree and all those types of things, but I'm looking for what I call the X factor. Mm-hmm. That's really what I'm looking for. And I'm looking for, how passionate are you about this work? How passionate are you about raising the level of expectations of young people? Are you willing to go the extra mile? If this is, if this is a stepping stone, or if you're looking at this as, an opportunity just to do something until something bigger or better comes along, I'm not looking for you. I'm looking for someone who has a love and a passion for young people and truly understands the power of education. Education can knock down walls that's been up for centuries. And in fact, education is the X factor that will determine a lot of young folks' success in life. Back when you and I were coming up, again, I told you I was from Michigan. You can go to General Motors, Ford, Chrysler, mm-hmm. and you can do relatively well. In fact, some would do just as well as those who went to college.
Right.
Those high-paying, low-skilled jobs no longer exist. And our young people now are not only competing with folks here in Tucson, but they are competing in what I call a global economy.
That's true.
And what will happen is if Raytheon, IBM, if they cannot find a qualified workforce, they will go to another country and bring folks in that has those skills. So my job here at Eastpointe is to make sure that every student who graduates from Eastpointe under my administration has the necessary, not only academic skills, but social skills needed to achieve in this global economy.
Yeah, and the dynamics of your school and being around your school and seeing the student body, there's such a variety and diversity in your student body. How does Eastpointe address the individual?
Well, and that's a good question, and I think we do that in a number of ways. I think since I came on and started running the school, I think one of the things that we do, we have, we started to bring on some different programs that will allow students to shine. Not everyone is an athlete. Not everyone is a good public speaker. Not everyone is a good artist. But with, the poetry clubs that's coming on, the digital arts program and the music program, and we do have some athletics. This will give, students an opportunity to shine. We also have a leadership program that's doing well, and that program is ran by Ms. Holland, really a young superstar that's in the classroom. And so those are some of the things that we do to try to address those issues.
The culture of Eastpointe is changing, and you have even altered the regular school day schedule. Could you tell us a little bit about how you accommodated, because you got working students, mm-hmm. you have students that are coming from different programs that are part of the population? Well,
first of all, I want to address the issue about the culture, and I do not hide, or I don't hide from this fact that in the past Eastpointe did not have the best reputation, and I don't hide from that. But one of the things that I've done, I've changed the culture, and we're starting to change the culture, and that's how things start. I mean, you have to change the expectations. You have to change the mindset of the people in the organization. And so we're starting to do that, and we're starting to do that, and we're partnering. We have a very positive relationship with Goodwill. We have a relationship with the Urban League. We definitely have positive relationships with some of the faith-based communities as well.
Well, that's great. Now, how did that happen? Because I hear a lot of connections, and since you've only been here for a year, how did all these things come to fruition?
Mr. Murray, that's a very good question.
I got a few.
I was, last year, I had went to a men's workshop, prayer breakfast, and I met a young man who stood up and said he owned a magazine. And I said, I got to meet this man. And so this man and I met after service, and we decided to exchange numbers and to keep in contact. And so over this past year, he and I have become not only friends, but now we're colleagues. And that is a direct result in my relationship with you. So again, I want to salute you and thank you so much for making those important connections for me.
That's not why I asked the question, but it's good to know. I appreciate that, and I appreciate the alliance that we have, and because we do have the same heart and the same concerns for youth. Now, since that introduction, you have hit the ground running.
Absolutely.
And you've been consciously trying to build alliances and connections throughout Tucson. What are some of those relationships that you've developed? You mentioned Goodwill.
Yeah, let me speak to the relationship with Goodwill. Our students will be working, through this relationship with Goodwill, our students will have an opportunity to work and get paid for their work with some of the local businesses. I know one of them is State Farm, the other one is the zoo, and there's just a wide variety of them, too many for me to mention. And again, it's my way of giving students the opportunity to apply concepts and skills learned in the classroom to a real-world situation. So again, if a student is working with Habitat for Humanity, there's a reason why you need to learn math.
Right.
You know, if
Right.
they're working with State Farm and they have to measure out an accident, well, there's a reason why you have to learn, how to measure the area of a room. If you have to write a report for State Farm, there's a reason why you have to learn how to write concisely and make sure subjects and verbs agree. And I believe, and again, the research bears out, when students can really latch on to a really reason why I should learn this, attendance goes up, behavior problems goes down, and most important, retention of the information goes up.
Exactly. The schedule at Eastpointe is accommodating to students. Could you, because I know there's 2 or 3 different sessions?
Yes, and let me speak to that. We at Eastpointe, we are really student advocates. And so we understand that some of our students are non-traditional students. Some of our students, unlike maybe you and I when we were in high school, my father made me get a job to show him I was, turning into a good man and I'm responsible. A lot of times our students, and not all, but some, they have to work to pay the rent. They have to work because they have to help mom and dad out. And so with that being said, I want to make sure that I accommodate those students. And so we have 3 start times. We have a 7:30 start time, we have a 9:40 start time, and we also have an 11:50 start time. So students attend classes 4 hours a day. And so one may say, how do you get away with that? What do students do the other 3 to 4 hours of the day? Well, the state says a high school student only have to attend school 20 hours a week. And so students attend school 4 hours a day, 4 hours a day, 5 days a week. That's how we get to the 20 hours. So that allows students not only to continue their high school degree, but also to make sure that their basic needs are met.
Excellent. Do you see that being a trend moving forward with society being what it is?
Unfortunately, I do. I would love to go back to 1978, 1979, when I was in high school, where we had 2-parent families. Dad was bringing home the bacon, mom was at home working, and there was a strong relationship between home and school, and also that third leg would be that faith-based community. But the family structure has changed, and I think schools need to change to accommodate the students within that milieu.
Okay. And you mentioned just in your last statement about the different parts, the holistic approach to young people's education. And I know you've been doing work in the community, and part of that is the faith-based community. what are some of the needs that, and some of the benefits that I know Eastpointe has taken advantage of because of those kind of relationships?
Again, Mr. Murray, I have to say thank you so much because it was you that connected me to Fort Tucson and Pastor Drum, and out of that relationship resulted in a very good relationship with Pantano Christian Church, who donated, I'm sure, $4,000 to $5,000 worth of labor and material to make sure our floors were stripped, buffed, and waxed. And we had some foundational issues outside where they hired contractors to come in, do the demolition work, and really lay a new sidewalk for us that gives our school much more curb appeal. And so that's just one of the benefits. The other benefit I believe is that I think it's important, and let me say this, and I'm talking about a lot of research, but it's true. When a student is involved in some type of religious activity, and you can believe whatever you want to believe, but the student is less likely to be involved in criminal or deviant behavior because they have a moral compass, whatever it may be. And so I think it's important that we get together and we partnership, because at the end of the day, these young folks will be our leaders. Mm-hmm. And if we're really serious about education, if we're really serious about improving the educational landscape here in Tucson, we have to make that investment. And it's going to take more than me, it's going to take more than parents, and it's going to take more than, just local businesses throwing money at it. It's going to take a combination of everybody doing just their small piece to make sure every student is not left behind.
You now have a connection and a dialogue with them. What are some of the ways that you can talk to them for Eastpointe, and what would your request be?
I think what we need is your presence. We need your knowledge. We need your resource. Just very quickly, we could use parents to help us monitor students during break. We could need parents who maybe have a math degree, are really good in math, to help come in and tutor some of our students so we can prepare them for the Ames test. If we have dads out there that's good at, that has some contracting skills, we have small jobs around here that we can do. Or even if we have some dads that's been trained to be mentors or want to spend some time with a young man that may not have a father or a positive role model at home. Those are things that we can do, and those are things that don't cost money, and those are things that will make a positive impact not only here at Eastpointe, but in the lives of some young man or woman.
Thank you for sharing. So that is going to do it for our show today. We thank Mr. Houston for coming by from the Eastpointe High School, and they are one of our sponsors, and we appreciate your support, and we'll do whatever we can do to support Eastpointe High School. We thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on Good News Tucson TV.
All right. Thank you.